Greetings, MelVee family, and a warm welcome to this episode of Prophecy Outlook, where we give you some highlights, but also delve deeper into specifics of prophecy alerts, because we are living in a time where world events are no longer random, but they are fulfilling what the Bible has always prophesied in the past. And to help me discuss this topic, God has provided us a brother who's been spending a lot of time examining and studying and looking into these events and making sense out of them from Bible prophecy. Greetings, my brother, and how are you?
Very well. Thank you very much for having me.
What a blessing and a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, thank you.
I've been listening, I've been watching, I've been looking at you developing a very intricate chart of world events. Now, when we study the Bible, Scripture is very clear.
Yes.
That whether it's wars, whether it's pandemics, whether it's pestilences, whether it's political machinations, they are pointing to something bigger and they are telling us something. And when we look into the Bible, 3 chapters stand out for me.
Okay.
And I saw you were making reference to them in detail. Daniel chapter 2, Matthew 24, Revelation chapter 13.
Yes.
Daniel talks about kingdom timelines. Matthew 24 talks about the signs that go with those kingdom, and chapter 13 talks about global systems and the power systems and the financial systems. Why is it important for us to understand these things?
Very, very important. You know, we serve a loving God who would not throw us into the dark without preparing us, without telling us what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So Amos 3 actually says, God does nothing unless he reveals it
to his servants.
To his servants.
Yes.
And Psalms 119 would say, thy word is a lamp unto my feet. Right?
And the light unto my path,
Because God understands that as we negotiate this life, we need to understand what times we're in. We need to understand where we're going. And we need also to understand the different pegs. So that by the time we get to any event, it must not take you unawares. And I like 2 Timothy 3, verse 16 and 17. That says, all scripture is given by inspiration of God, and it is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, in instruction in righteousness. But 17 is actually where I want to focus on more. That the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished. We need to be finished. It is as good as you sending your child to go and buy something and you're not giving them the description of what you need them to buy. What do you expect them to bring? So God gave us the complete manual, our Bible, to be a light, to guide us. And prophecy, therefore, gives us direction of where we're going. Because we are all going home. This world is not our home. So God has given us indicators through prophecy, through his prophets, on what will occur before. Daniel 2 starts off. The king has a dream. That's God speaking to him about what will happen. And to illustrate that it is him, he makes the king forget. And he comes to the Chaldeans and says, tell me what I've been dreaming.
Wow. So God makes him remember there was a dream, but he doesn't know the details.
It doesn't even remember.
That's a divine plot.
That's a divine plot. And he goes further. He says, if you don't tell me what I dreamt, then I'm killing all of you. So that illustrates that indeed God is serious about making sure that we are thoroughly furnished. So Daniel comes into the picture, and again, to illustrate divine presence, God reveals the dream to Daniel, also in a dream.
Wow.
So Daniel dreams the dream that Nebuchadnezzar has dreamt, which foretells time, the different kingdoms that are going to come through, starting from Babylon, the head of gold, going down right until we come to the 10 kingdoms, before the rock comes to strike the statue. God is speaking clearly of where we're going. Matthew 24, as you've highlighted, then he then gives us some of the minute detail. You shall hear of rumors of war. Fortunately for us, we don't only hear rumors, we are having the wars now. All right?
Yeah.
I mean, he literally makes sure that you are finished, so that we don't get to a point where someone says, I did not know. The signs were there. God has taught us, God has told us that this is going to happen. So that is why we definitely need prophecy, and prophecy helps us in our journey.
So it's like a telescope that looks into the future.
Oh, yes.
So that when we walk into the future, we can walk with certainty.
Yes.
And no doubt.
None at all.
And again, Jesus says, when you shall see these things happen.
No.
So therefore, we need to be on the lookout.
We need to be.
For these things. I think Daniel had that vision in chapter 2 with the king, got the interpretation,
yes,
outlined the kingdoms, but something bothered him.
Yes.
About the fourth beast. And he kept praying and asking God.
What does it mean?
For details. Then he receives another vision of 4 beasts. This time there's a different emphasis.
Yeah.
Because the fourth one now has a little horn.
Yes.
It is destroying the saints. And then when we look at it, it's got so many horns, 10.
Yes.
It's the same one we see in chapter 13.
It is.
Are these two linked?
They are. They are. The beauty is, with the Bible, is there is no one truth that stands alone.
Okay.
The Bible consolidates itself. The same dream that we get in Daniel chapter 2, you find it again when you get to Daniel chapter 7 and 8 again, when God begins to speak about different elements.
The animals, yeah.
The animals. You again, the same principle again when you get to Revelation chapter 13 again. When we now begin to, the difference becomes when he becomes specific because of the circumstances. Remember, Daniel has the dream and the interpretation during Babylonian rule. By the time John writes, when John is writing Revelation,
the book of Revelation,
it is now the time of Roman rule.
And the Bible confirms it.
Very much so. Yeah. So definitely, so these are two people, two different time zones.
Yeah.
And he definitely, John cannot refer back to Babylon because Babylon is past.
Yes.
He cannot refer to Medo-Persia because Medo-Persia is past. He now must refer to the kingdoms that are still yet to come for us. Because remember, it is a light to us.
It's pointing always.
It has to point somewhere.
To the future.
So they then definitely speak to each other, depending on where you are sitting. For example, we know that the kingdoms have passed. You've had your Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome. Now we are right at the bottom of the statue. The 10 kingdoms.
Yes.
That came through as a result of the fall of the Roman Empire. Now, where we are sitting is we have a situation where these 10 kingdoms have emanated, have come through. If you read right from, I'll take you quickly. Let's go to our Bibles in Daniel chapter 2. Daniel chapter 2, it will be verse 37. Yeah. This is Daniel as he was interpreting the king's dream. So from 36 to 38, he says, this is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art a king of kings. Art a king of what? Kings. Of kings. For the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of heaven hath he given into thine hand. So it means at this time, Babylon was a global power. Wow. That is why he was king of kings.
All right.
Now, the kingdoms have moved from Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome. All of that has passed. Now, we are at the 10 kingdoms.
Yes.
At the 10 kingdoms, about 1500s, we actually get an incident where the Spanish monarchs, led by Ferdinand and Isabel, come together. And they established the Spanish Empire as a global power at the time. They rule the world economically and militarily. And they go expanding, taking up lands all over the place because they were the global power at the time. Now we are at the 10 what?
10 toes.
10 toes.
Yeah.
Remember, the 10 toes are before the rock comes.
Yes.
So this is before the coming of Christ. So we are still at that period before Christ comes. The Spanish, having expanded, and this is the same principle when you actually look at all the kingdoms, they begin to have a lot of costs because of excessive expansion, which becomes very, very costly militarily and also on their economies.
Yeah.
And the Spanish fall to the Dutch.
Okay.
Now, how do they fall? Because their kingdom has become so big, become so expensive to actually maintain. It eventually collapses and the Dutch take over. After the Dutch come in at about 1581. What makes them come in is something that in Africa especially that we can relate to, the Dutch East India Company. So the Dutch had come up with the technology, the naval superpower to be able to go through the world. So they became the center of the economies. If anyone wanted anything to trade on, they needed to speak to the Dutch.
They will know how to navigate the whole world.
So the Dutch become the center, and Amsterdam becomes established as a global financial center. Amsterdam becomes established as a global financial center. And this goes on until about 1795. 1795, the Dutch have their own challenges, the same challenge that the Spanish had. Their challenges was because the Netherlands is within countries. So it has to, obviously, by virtue of its prosperity, have armies ready all the time to defend itself. So again, heavy expenditures come through until finally the British come into the picture. And then we have the Anglo-Dutch War, where the Dutch are conquered and the British. Remember with the Dutch, the Dutch, it was the naval power, the Dutch East India Company. The British come in, and it is coming at a time when the British are entering into the first industrial revolution. And they also established what? The British Southeast India Company. So the principle is always the same. Whenever a global power takes over, they begin to control the economy globally. They become the center. And as the Dutch were expanding, they had moved the financial capital from Amsterdam to London.
All right.
And when the war broke out, already London was becoming a financial center. So London and the Brits then become the global power. That goes on. And remember, we are still at the 10 toes. We're still at the 10 toes. This goes on. And in the same context, which happened to the Spanish, become too big, wars, the economies fail, they fall. Dutch came, same thing, wars, and the economies fall. The British also go through their period of glory as a global power until they enter again the world wars.
All right.
This happens now at a time, remember, the kingdom at that time, the United Kingdom, has become a colonial power.
Yes.
With outposts all over the world. Definitely what that also means is the expenses also of maintaining that empire are huge. And then they get into the First World War, leaves them in serious debt. They get into the Second World War, leaves them in more debt that they needed to be bailed out. That is when the Americans become the global power with the establishment of the Bretton Woods institution.
Yes.
That is how global power then moves again from the British to the Americans. So look at the trend. Wars, expansion, global dominance becomes too big, it falls.
Crashes.
Next one, big, falls. We are now at a time where we are facing a similar incident with the Americans.
All right.
Who are currently, as we would all know, the US has got military bases in almost every continent in the world.
True.
So their expenditure again is huge. As we speak, their debt to GDP has exceeded 120%.
Wow.
The US is highly indebted as we speak, in excess of $36 trillion.
Sure.
While that is happening, the US has also gotten into wars as well.
True.
Donald Trump has come through lambasting what Biden did with Ukraine, saying they're spending too much money on Ukraine. They spent heavily there. Now, they're involved also in the Iranian war at a time where already their budgets are stretched.
In fact, we could take America's one maybe a little bit back to George Bush.
Yes.
George Bush went into war with Iraq, bombarded Baghdad because Iraq had invaded Kuwait.
Yes.
And that was a very big war. And then they also went during Obama's time, from the September 11 time before Obama. That was George Bush's time. Throughout Obama's time, they were still at war in the Middle East.
Yes.
With Afghanistan the other time.
Yes.
With the Islamic militants. And that was a protracted war. And then now there's another new phase, and this one looks very, very fearful, because as I listen to people speak, the biggest question is this World War III?
Okay. And with that, you can never know that this is a world war until you're in the middle of it.
Okay.
So at this time, it is just starting out. But there are some indicators. You mentioned them going into Iraq, Kuwait, and so forth and so on. The US had what was called the petrodollar.
Okay.
Where they'd pegged the oil to always be charged on the dollar.
Yeah.
All right? So this was from 1974.
Okay.
And it was a 50-year agreement, which elapsed in 2024.
Just a few years ago.
Just a few years ago. So remember, this is what happens. When the global power is still in control, it makes the entire world use its currency. It becomes the center of the financial system.
Every transaction
goes
through their system.
So as of 2024, the US dollar was used in more than 51% of global transactions. Now let's first check to now. As we speak, the US dollar is used in less than 50% of the transactions. That's point number one.
So we've seen that shift.
We've seen that shift.
Okay.
Point number two, the petrodollar has been unpegged. And for the first time within this very same crisis, there is talk that the Iranians are charging people that are passing through the Strait of Hormuz using the Chinese yuan.
Really?
So there's a shift that you can see. There's a shift. And while this shift is happening, there is also a new financial system that is developing.
Okay.
So the percentage loss that the US has experienced in global transaction has moved into digital currencies, into Bitcoin, into Ethereum, into those digital assets. This is now the type of currency that is beginning to come up.
And then who's controlling this one? Is it America, or who's in charge of the new currency?
That is the interesting part. Bitcoin was started by a man named Satoshi, who wrote a white paper on it. But who owns it?
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Satoshi doesn't himself.
Doesn't even. But it's now widely used, accounting for close to 1% of global transactions. So in 2024, to answer that question, the US passed what was called the Genius Act. The Genius Act, for the first time, established a legal framework globally that identified what are called stable coins.
Okay.
A stable coin is, in simple terms, a replica of a currency in a bank.
Okay.
So it is a token that represents a currency that's in a bank.
Okay.
So for example, you'd find there's what is called the USDT, which is the US dollar stable coin.
All right.
That's owned by a company called Tether. So it says all the Tether USDTs that are in circulation are representing a portion of the US dollar. So you see what's happening. the currency that is now going to increase in circulation are the stable coins.
Backed by the currencies they represent.
They represent. Because remember, going back again, the history of money, these currencies represented gold. So you couldn't go around carrying gold. So essentially what that has done is it has made gold not be used as a currency. Now this stable coin was legislated in 2025 in the US.
Wow.
So the system is shifting in the same way that happened between the Dutch and the British pound, where the financial center moved from Amsterdam to London. We're having a similar movement again. And as usual, it takes time.
Yeah.
But the Bible has already spoken to us about this. It has given us the indications about this. This is where Revelation chapter 18 comes into play.
Yes.
To then we know the beast that emanated from the people, from the land, is the one that then gives power to the dragon. But when you get to verse 17, it then causes those that cannot get the mark not to be able to buy or sell.
All right.
Digital currencies
Yeah.
are a technology that is based on your profile, on a system on the internet. And as anti-money laundering KYC regulations would require, there are certain parameters that you have to meet for you to hold an account.
Okay.
That if you violate them, the system is designed in such a way that it can block your access.
Is this the blockchain technology or is separate?
So this is the blockchain and other technologies. They are making the financial system more efficient, but yet at the same time, they've got this closed element that through an algorithm that is predetermined.
You can be excluded.
You can be excluded.
Just at the click of a button.
At the click of a button. The algorithm picks you and says he is spending A, B, C, D. The algorithm has been pre-programmed
to shorten or
the
to
moment
curtail.
he behaves an A, B, C, D, cut.
Wow.
And this is the new financial system that we're moving. Very efficient. It has made capital movement very easy. And all inventions do that. AI has made work so faster. But while that has happened, it has killed our critical thinking.
True. The prefrontal cortex is no longer as active.
It's no longer as active because now we know I can just plug it in and just ask it a question and it's going to solve the problem. So it's the same thing with the new financial system that's currently developing. So all countries are beginning one after the other to come up with a stable coin. One after the other. So at the end of this transition, we'll have a situation where our money, or rather our financial system, will be run via algorithms with the minimal human interaction. Your question then is, who owns that? Who is in control of that?
From what you're saying here, it looks like there are kingdoms in charge.
Yes.
We have always had kingdoms in charge of currencies. From the Spanish to the Dutch to the British. And they all came into Africa, scramble for Africa. Those are the same powerful powers. Remember what Daniel 2 said.
Yes.
It's a mixture of clay and iron. Which then means in the last days, we are moving into times when some economies are stronger, some are weaker. Even in Europe, if you look at the 10 toes,
yes,
the remnant of that kingdom, the Roman kingdom, some of the Roman territories that remained are weak. Some are strong.
Yes.
The British recently had the Brexit. They said we are strong enough, we can stand on our own. They moved out of the European
and they're reviewing
Union.
that now.
Yes, they're wanting to come back because they belong to the same system. There were 10 horns.
Yes.
They were not crowned on the Roman one, but by the time you get to Revelation chapter 13, they are crowned. So
Yes.
they are now authorities and powers to rule in their own territories.
Yes.
But they are also weaker ones.
Mm.
So what I see there is there's a move from individual global powers.
Yes.
Even with America right now,
Mm.
there's a move from America being the sole global power to global systems.
Yes.
So these systems are all encompassing
They are.
in every aspect,
Mm.
whether it's political. No president can do whatever they want in their corner and get away with it.
Yes.
There's a long arm of the international legal system that catches up with them. So every president has to sign up to some global agreement
Order of
somewhere.
some sort.
Yes.
Yes.
And no economy stands by itself.
No.
Something happens in the Middle East, the rand in South Africa coughs and stumbles and things fall apart here.
Yes.
So we are now into a global framework of systems, and also economically. I think you're describing shifts that are happening economically,
Yes.
leading us to Revelation 13.
They did.
Where the system of buying and selling
Mm-hmm.
is going to be the policeman
Mm.
for our behavior.
Yes.
And related to that is a growth of digital platforms,
Mm.
the growth of the internet, which you're quite right, is efficient. It's shortening time. From my perspective, it's shortening time. This video can be watched by people across the time zones
Yes.
and at any time, 24/7.
Yes.
And I can send money right now to someone on the other side of the world because the technologies now allow us to do that.
Yes.
But what we are getting into, so the politics is changing into global platforms.
Yes.
The economy is changing into a global economy. The religious system as well,
Yes.
according to Revelation chapter 13,
Yes.
through the second beast.
Yes.
It's also creating the image of the first beast
That's the first piece.
and giving power to that image that it should speak and cause many,
Yeah.
who don't have the mark
Of the
to be
first.
persecuted and
Yes.
to be killed.
Yes.
Now, we are also seeing that fraternity of organizations coming together into one. The ordinary person may not see it.
No.
And this is where the alert is.
Yes.
And this is where we need to warn our people that all of this coming into a global empire is leading us somewhere.
Somewhere.
The other thing I noted from your chart, the notes you shared, and also my studying, is that every kingdom starts as a republic, grows into a global power. But at some point, it becomes an ecclesiastical power before it becomes a persecuting or conquering power. All of them went through that.
All of them.
And the Romans went through that. All of these kingdoms, the British at some point were the global evangelists of the world,
Yes.
preaching with missionaries. What I also noted was Daniel chapter 2, verse 43 says, "And they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay." Mingling with the seed of men. Today you can't stand up and say, "I am Zulu,
No.
I am Shona,
No.
I'm going to fight for the Shonas."
No.
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 Societies have become intermingled.
All.
We are metropolitan cities.
Yes.
And therefore it's become very difficult to just say this city belongs to these people or this country belongs to these people.
And that's why there's a statement that says we've become a global village.
Yes. Because people are all over the place.
Everywhere. We are moving and knowledge is abounding
Yes.
to and fro.
Yeah. And so the question I have as we open this series and we really just look into the perspective is, talk to us about the framework for the end times. Particularly, I'm interested in what is coming. Where are these systems leading us to?
Yes.
What can we expect in terms of what Revelation talks about?
Yeah.
And as a believer listening out there,
Yes.
where are we and what is happening right now?
All right. So the last greatest ecclesiastical occurrence that happened in the world happened in what we call the 2300-day prophecy.
Okay.
That ended in 1844. Right? Where we were told, if you go to Daniel, What's Daniel chapter
8.
Chapter 8, yes.
I think that's mentioned in verse 14, right?
Yes, 14, 13.
Yes, the time prophecy concerning the cleansing of the sanctuary.
Yes. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake, How long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the halls to be trodden under? And he said unto me, Unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed.
All right.
And we know that this period started in 457 BC, when the command was given to go and rebuild Jerusalem, ending in 1844, when the sanctuary, when Christ entered into the most holy place, beginning what is called the investigative judgment. The next incident or moment that we are looking for, which will be significant to us, shall be the coming together of government and religion and church, and the establishment of what we now know, or what we call the National Sunday Law. This is the next event that we're looking for. Now let's go quickly to Revelation chapter 13.
Yeah.
Because this is where then we get this. Now when we get to the Revelation chapter 13, and I'm reading verse 15 to 17. And it says, and this is speaking of the beast.
The second beast of Revelation, yes.
All right. So the second beast of Revelation chapter 13, which we have identified as the American system. And it says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So here we've got a power that will also have a religious push on it.
Yes.
The National Sunday Law coming through with it. But remember, we've already gone through the different shifts in the kingdoms.
Yeah.
Now, in the different shifts in the kingdoms, we have said whenever a kingdom is in decline, another kingdom is coming up.
Yes.
And we identified the British being highly indebted, going through wars. They were then dethroned as a global power. And the US dollar took over as the global currency, making America the global power. Now here we are, America identified as the second beast, which will give life to the image of the beast. And we are noting America is in decline. That means there is a new system that is on the rise, which is coming through to replace. And we have said from verse 15, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as men would not worship. So this new power that is going to come through will be a worship power.
There's going to be a lot of spiritual activities.
I just read 2 days, if not a day before yesterday, that the Roman Catholic Church had a meeting to say they wanted each and every church of theirs to have a minister who's an exorcist, who can take out demons. And this is where we're heading to, where spiritualism is going to increase. So now what are we doing? What are we seeing? We are seeing the decline of the US and the potential rise of a new power. And this power is going to be spiritual, leading us to the National Sunday Law. And the signs show, because when you read down, it says, and verse 16, and he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand and in their foreheads. Verse 19, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark. Remember, we've already said, as the US dollar is declining, the global currencies that are controlled via algorithms are on the increase. And these are remotely controlled to be able to determine your profile and your ability to buy or sell. America is in decline.
Yes.
A new worship power is on the rise. While that new worship power is on the rise, digital financial systems are also on the rise. Moving our entire financial system from our current analog systems to digital asset-based systems. So this is where we are. We are slowly but surely heading towards Revelation 18:15. The power to give life unto the beast. Where we are indeed looking forward to getting to that. But God has already given us the warning. God has already told us that this will happen. So it must not shock us. Neither must we bury our heads in despair.
Yes.
Because this is the reason why prophecy is given to us.
True.
Prophecy is given to us to give us direction of where we're going. So we can prepare. We can prepare in good time.
Amen.
Selected Messages, Volume 2, page 359, says, educate our people to get out of the cities into the country, where they can obtain a small piece of land and make a home for themselves. So that when there shall be strife and confusion, when our systems have logged your bank accounts, if you are out of the city, you will be able to put food on the table for your family.
Wow.
We've been given the indicators.
Yes.
She goes further and says, the National Sunday Law shall be the last warning for us to get out of the cities. So we know, as this is happening, it's going to constrain you and me from buying. Therefore, and we saw this in COVID. We saw this in COVID. It so happened that COVID happened at a time when I was living at the farm. There was lockdown. But because I was living at a farm, I couldn't.
You didn't see it?
I couldn't experience
You didn't feel it?
Not at all. We were getting our food. Actually, at the time, we were called special services. We were allowed to go around delivering food. So we could move around because we had produce to give people food.
Wow.
But as far as being constrained in houses, we were not, because we were out of the city, able to move around. So COVID showed us the benefits of being out of the city. That is why when this comes, as we are right there, the indicators are showing us America is in decline. A new financial system is coming into play. We are definitely heading towards the National Sunday Law as the new worship power increases. We need to start preparing to get out of the city.
Awesome. My brother, we're going to get into the details of these prophecies. I know you've got a very detailed chart right there, and we're going to get into the details of this, because once chapter 13 is completed, there's a beast of chapter 17, which is the 8th, but is of the 7th.
Yes.
And that's the one you're talking about. That is ridden by this corrupt woman called Babylon. That's the new beast that's coming.
Yes.
We will get into the details of that, but thank you so much for bringing this perspective to us today. And may God bless you as we continue studying. To our viewers, I would like you to look forward to the next episode of our Prophecy Outlook. We're looking into today's prophecies as events are being fulfilled. We're looking at the blueprint of the prophecy and seeing where we are. And watchmen on the walls of Zion, we need to know where we are in this time. God bless you. Please remember to like, to subscribe, and to follow this ministry. And we look forward to have you on the next episode. God bless you.